There are moments in which the machinery of time seems to just hesitate, a single skipped gear in the clockwork of the universe, and most of us pass through those instants, and we don't even notice. But in the heart of Liverpool, on a short incline between St Luke's bombed-out church and Central Station, people have reported such moments. This is Bold Street, a place that for almost 30 years has been whispered about as the site where the present folds back upon the past. Now, the earliest traceable reference to this Bold Street time slip appeared in the Maghull and Aintree Stair, dated Thursday the 5th of September of 96, in a letter titled Riveted by Tom, which was submitted by reader Alice Bradley, who wrote, "I was riveted to the radio this morning listening to Tom Slemen talking about an intriguing time slip incident in Bold Street. Tom said an off-duty policeman apparently strolled into the past on his way to a bookshop and found himself in a large store named Cripps. There was such a store in Bold Street in the late 50s and 60s, and I recall it well." This letter established two crucial facts for me. Number one, that the story was already circulating in 96. And number two, it was being discussed publicly on Liverpool's Radio City in broadcasts hosted by Billy Butler and Wally Scott. In other words, this wasn't born on the internet, as I had assumed initially. It began on the Merseyside airwaves. 1 year later, Slemen published the story in his collection Haunted Liverpool 2, and if you jump to page 53, under the plain heading of The Bold Street Time Slip, well, there it is. Frank, an off-duty policeman from Melling, and his wife Carol were in Liverpool on a Saturday afternoon shopping. At Central Station, the couple split up, and Carol went to Dillons' bookshop in Bold Street to buy a copy of Train Spotting by Irvine Welsh. 20 minutes later, Frank walked up the incline towards the Lyceum and suddenly noticed an odd quietness. A van crossed his path bearing the name Caplan's. He realised Dillons' bookshop was gone, and in its place stood a 1950s store called Cripps. People around him were dressed in clothes of the 40s and 50s, and then a young woman in modern dress carrying a Miss Selfridge bag passed him and entered Cripps, and at that moment the scene changed. The shop interior became Dillons again. When Frank asked if she'd seen it, she just laughed, and within minutes of my broadcast on Radio City, listeners phoned to confirm that both Cripps and Caplan's were genuine Bold Street businesses in the 50s and 60s, said Tom. This printed account anchors this legend, I suppose you'd call it, in a specific year. It identifies witnesses by name and introduces verifiable period businesses later confirmed by readers and historians. Cripps was a fashion store which operated at 46 to 48 Bold Street during the 1950s. Caplan's was a family-run outfitters, and it is likewise recorded in mid-century Liverpool trade listings. Now these details, trivial to modern ears, are what separate folklore from outright fabrication. They place the story's imagery squarely within the fabric of that city's past. And after its 1996 radio appearance, Slemen's time slip reports continued across Merseyside's local papers. The Anfield and Walton Stair of June 99 had a letter from Kate Winshard, a reader, to say that Slemen's Bold Street column reminded her of a 1982 incident on London Road in which her 8-year-old daughter briefly vanished and claimed to have visited a shop named Samson and Barlow's. And in the Maghull and Aintree Stair again in November of 99, Slemen's Local Mysteries column recounted a separate case, the story of Colette Johnson, an 18-year-old factory worker allegedly stalked by a man in black near Bold Street before vanishing from her home in Huskisson Street. 2 decades later, the account resurfaced online through Nell Rosa's article, The Liverpool Time Slips and Mysterious Occurrences in Bold Street, on Medium, and Hub pages later in 24. Writers Icy Sedgwick and M.J. Wayland further popularised it in blogs and articles, and thus by the late 2010s the case had migrated from documented local history into digital folklore, often stripped of its original sourcing. And the one thing that I must point out, which none of you can have missed, there's nothing to say where Tom got this story from himself. In Haunted Liverpool 2, the book simply says, "The following is an account of a man who inadvertently strolled into the past." It doesn't say where the account came from. And frustratingly, I cannot find a copy of the radio show to see if Tom says anything else. So what are we to make of this? Well, it's an intriguing, interesting story at the moment. But why Bold Street? Well, beneath Bold Street is a network of 19th century railway tunnels extending towards Liverpool Central, and Slemen speculated that geomagnetic or perhaps electromagnetic effects from these buried lines might interfere with perception. It's a theory that remains untested. Psychologists propose a simpler cause, which is referred to as cognitive time distortion, and that's when familiar surroundings momentarily change. Altered shop fronts, lighting or soundscapes, as if the brain is overlaying memory upon perception, producing an overwhelming sense of stepping back in time. Either way, the experience seems to feel real to people. 3 decades on, Bold Street is still generating new testimony. Threads on Reddit's r/Liverpool and the Billy's Liverpool of Yesterday Facebook group contain some modern echoes of Slemen's story. Commuters describing moments of silence and altered signage or streets that felt older than they should. Each retelling adds nothing new in evidence, but together they trace this evolution of what's becoming a living legend. But is it a physical rupture in whatever space-time might be? Or is it us? Is it some sort of temporal lensing? Theory of relativity allows for time dilation, doesn't it? But does any terrestrial magnetic field have the strength to reverse local time flow, even in a specific street? What of quantum consciousness, with theorists like Penrose and Hameroff suggesting that perception itself might be a quantum process, implying that the slip could occur not in the street, but in the observer. So, to my surprise, the Bold Street time slip is not an orphaned anecdote of the internet age. Its documented origins lie in Merseyside's local media of 96 and Tom Slemen's Haunted Liverpool of 97, supported by contemporaneous letters and radio interviews. No police or MOD files corroborate the incident itself, but its persistence across formats demonstrates how modern folklore is born. One credible witness, a local broadcast, and a community willing to believe that time can sometimes break. Liverpool is a city layered in centuries. Roman stones beneath Georgian cellars, Victorian tunnels beneath modern cafes. Perhaps it's fitting that on one of its oldest streets, people sense the past pushing faintly against the present. And when we stand on those cobbles, hearing the hum of buses and the echo of horseshoes that are long gone, it's easy to imagine that somewhere, just a heartbeat away, the 1950s are still unfolding. The YouTube show is only a part of the vault. Beyond the broadcast is the archive. And at eeriesvault.com you'll find our growing library of case files, first-hand accounts of the unexplained, written reports from people who lived through something strange. And we need yours. If you've carried a story for years, if you've never had the chance to put it into words, and this is where it belongs. Your report will stand alongside others, building a record that may one day help us see patterns that we cannot see alone. And it's easy. Go to eeriesvault.com, open the Case Files page, and hit the Submit a Case button. Fill in the details and send it on its way. Because strange events pass quickly into silence unless someone records them. Don't let your story vanish. Put it in the vault. For those of you who want to go deeper, There is the Eeries Vault Patreon. Here you'll find the evidence. Original newspaper clippings, forgotten publications, rare documents. You'll see the raw material behind the stories, and you'll gain access to exclusive videos, some filmed on location at the very places we discuss, and you'll be able to watch private follow-up videos to the cases already covered on the main channel. It's not just about watching here, it's about joining the search, and by supporting the Vault, you help to keep the archive alive, help uncover more material, and help to bring these stories into the light. And if you've ever wondered what all these marks are on this map here, well, patrons get access to this interactive encounters map to peruse at their leisure. It gets updated regularly and will grow to be one of the most comprehensive encounters maps in the world. If you've ever wanted to be closer to the investigation, if you've ever wanted to see what lies behind the curtain, then Patreon is where it begins. And with numerous membership options, what are you waiting for? Head over to the Vault. From the depths of the Vault, this is Eerie's Vault Live. Every Friday at 9 p.m. GMT, the lines are open. UFOs, aliens, ghosts, strange creatures, time slips, encounters you cannot explain. If you've seen something unusual, if something has haunted you, followed you, or simply left you wondering, then this is your place to tell it. Call in and share your story. You can watch the show live on YouTube or stream it directly at eeriesvault.com. And if you're too shy to call, then you can email ahead of the show at eeriesvault@gmail.com, and I will read your story out for you on air. That's Eerie's Vault Live, Friday nights, 9 p.m. GMT. Be part of it.